What's going on, guys? Today we're in Logic Pro 10 and we're going to be remaking Air Force by DigDat, produced by Caesar Beats.
Alright, so jumping straight into this new project, we've got our tempo at 142 and the violins that we are using can be found in the EXS24 sampler, and these are violins to legato, which is under factory, orchestral, strings, and there we are, violins to legato. So to start things off, let's record in the first violin pattern. Alright, so with that recorded, let's just tidy it up a bit. Going into these MIDI notes here, I'm just going to extend a few of these notes out. Just make it a little bit cleaner. And you might also be able to hear that the velocity on a few of the notes is a little bit different as well. So to just tidy that up and just to make sure that's all the same, I'm going to just go into this little area here on velocity and just level out the velocity here to around 100. Let's give that a listen now. So now all the notes are hitting the same and sounds a little bit more uniform. Something else we're going to do is just extend this out to 16 bars, as that's what it covers in the song. We can join that all into place as well. And at the moment it's sounding a little bit robotic just because these are computerized strings. So to give this a little bit more life, let's add some reverb to this. So we'll go into Reverb, Space Designer, and a reverb I like to use is under large spaces, halls, and prison main floor. So let's just bring back that reverb ever so slightly, give that a listen now. Okay, that's sounding good. And something else that is present throughout the beginning of this song is a low pass filter. So this low pass filter sort of sweeps all the way to the end of this 16 bar section. So let's add that now. And how we can do that is by going into read here. So this is like an automation. So whatever automation we do here live in real time will actually happen to the MIDI notes in real time as well. So let's change that to touch. Let's open up our EQ here. And let's just bring this back to around 2000 there. And what we can do is play back this whole section in real time. And as it's playing back, I'll just move back this EQ just to open it up all the way. Alright, so if we play this back, we'll play it back from the 9th bar here. We can actually see the automation happening live in action here. Okay, so that makes up the first violin pattern. Let's jump straight into the second. Okay, so after that first violin section is done, there's actually a 4-bar break in which there are ad-libs, producer tags, just a bit of a build-up into the second violin pattern, which then carries on for the rest of the song. So I've just left that 4-bar break there, and we'll continue from the 21st bar. So let's record in that pattern now. Okay, so something that I did before recording in those violins was actually copy over the Space Designer reverb that we created on the first violin track. So I've got that copied over to this channel strip here, and after having played in the pattern for violins 2, we'll just do what we did to the first pattern and just tidy it up a bit. So that includes just making sure we've got everything in time, overlapping nicely as well. And with the velocity of these notes as well, we'll try and keep this uniform. So we'll go for just around here 106. Give that a little listen, see how that sounds. Okay, that's sounding pretty good, and this is actually a little bit harsher than the first violin pattern, but I think it needs to be honest, to sort of really give the punch when the drums kick in as well. So now we've got the violins in, it's really just a case of adding in the drums and a few more effects here and there. So let's start off the drums with the hi-hats. Alright, so I've just tidied up these hi-hats here. What I've done, similar to the violins, is give them all a uniform velocity all the way through. And just in this little section here, you can see the little cluster of MIDI notes. I've added in a hi-hat roll here. This is something that I couldn't do on the keyboard. I had to go into the piano roll and manipulate that. So let's give that a listen back now with the violins. Something else I've done to these hi-hats is to put the swing to 100. Sort of gives it that bouncy feel that you hear in drill music. Staying with the drums, let's move on to the kicks. For the kicks, I'm just using this sample here. And this is a sample rather than as a MIDI note, so we'll just drag this to where it needs to be. Okay, for the snares, I've got quite a classic trap snare sample, so we'll just drag this again to where it needs to be. Alright, moving on to the 808s, everyone's favourite part. Hope you got your headphones on or some decent speakers for this. So in order to achieve that little glide effect that happens on the 808s on those octave notes, we'll go into the ESX24 sampler where we have our 808 sample, And what we do here is just change the glide here. So right now I've got a value of 119. So you can have that higher or lower, but for that quick, snappy glide, that's a perfect value. So give that a listen one more time. And that almost makes up the whole track. Last element we're going to add in is a triangle. So we'll go over to Apple Loops here, search triangle, and it's this first sample here, Latin triangle. So just drag that in. And this sample just plays the same note over and over again for how many bars? 4 bars. The only bit we're interested in is one of the notes. So just cut that down and put that into place. And then the next thing that we're going to do actually is rearrange this ever so slightly and then introduce a little slowdown. So the 808s don't actually come in for 8 bars. So let's just copy over everything. Alright, and then as soon as the beat kicks in, we've got no 808s, and we haven't got these triangles either. So let's get rid of those. So the beat plays for 8 bars, and then the 808s kick in. But to make them kick in and to make them a bit more punchy, we're going to introduce this little slowdown effect. Sort of like a record player slowly coming down to a stop, and then coming straight back in again. So in order to do this, what we'll do is select this little area here just before the 808s come in. We want to select everything within that area, and then we'll go right click, bounce in place. So what this will do is just turn all of these MIDI notes here and then all of these little audio files where the drums are into this here, this audio track, violins 2, bip, whatever. So let's just rename that to Slowdown. And what we can do here is under region, we've got fade in and fade out. Let's change fade out to slow down and put this value to around, let's say 150. Let's see how that sounds, and if we need a little bit more, we can add a bit more. Okay, so that's quite a subtle one. Let's put it up to 200, see if that makes a little bit more of a difference. Oh, that sounds much better. So with that slowdown element in place, that makes up the final part of the whole beat remake. So let's give a little listen to our creation.
Alright, so there we have it. That was Air Force by DigDat, produced by Caesar Beats, recreated on Logic Pro 10. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe as well, and let me know in the comments down below what video remakes you want to see next.
Pull up on her like darling, local Spartan Harlem loose.